Dear friends, welcome back to Automate with Rakesh. In this video, we are going to learn about how do you use UiPath Integration Service and connect with Microsoft OneDrive and SharePoint. In detail, everything we are going to see, so do not skip the video. So the very first agenda to understand about the Microsoft OneDrive SharePoint connector, and then we will see how to authenticate and connect in the integration service, and then we will see how to install the required packages in UiPath Studio. Let's say you would like to build an automation on UiPath Studio and you have already made a connection with SharePoint and OneDrive. How will you do that? How to set up a trigger on specific event. Everything as a package, we are going to learn a lot of things. So do not skip the video and let's move on. First thing, we have to understand about the Microsoft OneDrive SharePoint connector. All you have to do, all these things that you're seeing here, I'm going to show a demonstration, not to worry. For the moment, let's capture and grasp what it is, and then we will do the demo. First thing, when you go to integration service, in the connectors tab, when you type OneDrive, you would see a card like this, Microsoft OneDrive and SharePoint. Now, when you open this, you would find events. Under the activities tab, you would find the events, you would find different activities for that connection. If you're using this particular card and connecting to Microsoft OneDrive, you can do a lot of things. For example, getting files, uploading file, get file in folder, move file in folder. A lot of these activities you can perform after you have built the connection. And also you can take benefit of different events. For example, if somebody has created a file, you wanted to start an automation. If somebody has uploaded a file, you would like to start an automation. So all those based on the event, we can kickstart an automation. We will see that in demo, so not to worry. Okay, let's move on to the second slide. Here we will see how do you really authenticate and connect. The very first step is you search for OneDrive in the integration service and then hit on this. And after that, you would see a page like this where you have to click on connect to Microsoft OneDrive. We will do the practical for sure. And then you would see this page where you would hit on connect. Mind a couple of things here. If you see, it is showing a folder. Now, every connection that you're making is on the folder label. That means if I'm creating a connection in the share drive, that means this connection is available for the share drive folder. Okay, so that's why the folder name also would appear. And then there are two kinds of authentication available. One is OAuth 2.0, bring your own auth. Now for learning purpose, we'll simply go with the default one. Okay, so these are the three simple steps. After that, after you hit on connect, then it will give you an agreement page. It will ask you to read and accept. Post that, you would see a successfully created connection. All that we will see the demo. Successfully created connection and the status will say connected and you are done. Okay, so once your connection is done, there are also a couple of other questions you might have. Accounts using business subscription plan. Now the demo I am going to show you, that is a personal account. Now if somebody has a business subscription plan, or for organization if you're doing, then there are a couple of settings that has to be enabled. Okay, you have to go to org settings and then make sure the let user provide consent when apps request access to you. So there is a setting here that you need to checkbox and hit on save. So I will show you where you can find this documentation, not to worry. Now look at a couple of events I was talking about. Event polling is performed every 5 minutes. The word polling. So what is the meaning of polling interval is configurable? So what is this polling? Polling means when I am setting an event, for example, when somebody creates a file on my OneDrive, that time automation should start. Now when somebody, anytime, anyone can create, I can create at any time by logging into the OneDrive, I'll create a file. The moment a file is created, if you have enabled this trigger, what it does, polling means API polling is when a client, that means UiPath in this example, repeatedly sends request to an API endpoint, which is the OneDrive here, and compares the responses to determine if there is a updated information. So it will check Polling means it will just continuously check. Every 5 minutes it will check if there is some file got created or not. If some file got created or not, every 5 minutes is going to check. And this polling time, which is default to 5 minutes, you can change it to 1 minute. You can change it to different, as per your need. I will show you that. So polling, just understand polling means what? If I'm using an event trigger, for example, file created. So every 5 minutes it is going to check whether a file got created or not. That is called polling interval. Okay. All right. Now you will also see what if I have to build an automation for OneDrive or SharePoint. I also need to install the required package. So in this case, Microsoft 365 is the required package that you need to install on your UiPath Studio. We will also see that in detail. Okay. So we have gone through a couple of slides. Now it is time to really practically see a demo and understand everything in detail. So why delay? Let's move on to our UiPath Studio. Now, the very first step is we click on this, you log into Orchestrator. After that, if you click on this breadcrumb symbol, you find something called Integration Service. Click on Integration Service. Now, select any of the folder. For example, I would select IT department projects and ensure this folder must be a modern folder for the integration service to work. So this is a modern folder. Let me select any one of the folder. Now, once you have selected the folder, then what we will do, we will go to the connectors tab. In the connectors tab, I am going to search for OneDrive. It is a single word. You will see this card. I'm going to click on this card. Now in this card, there is something called read documentation. So you can click on the read documentation on a separate tab and keep it open for any kind of thing that you would like to refer. You remember I was talking about one configuration. Anybody is having a business plan, they have to configure. So all these documentations are here for you to refer it later. Coming back, I would click on connect to Microsoft OneDrive and SharePoint. This is the first thing I have to do. Click on connect to Microsoft OneDrive and SharePoint. Before that, it is always a good practice to first log in and stay signed into your OneDrive. So I will log into OneDrive. So it might ask you for a password and username and all that in case you have not logged in. So I've logged into my personal OneDrive account. After that, I'll go to the integration service, click on connect to Microsoft OneDrive and SharePoint. Let me hit on connect. Post that, a new tab opens and here it says connect to Microsoft OneDrive and SharePoint. Remember, you have created this under the IT department projects. So whatever the project folder that you have selected, the folder name is going to appear here. So once you have selected, if you click on the settings option, there are two different options. So by default, OAuth 2.0, this is the authentication mechanism, standard authentication mechanism. So we'll go with the default one. We will not make any changes. All you have to do, you have to simply hit on connect. After you hit on connect, it can see your integration is loading. It will take a few minutes. All right. Now successfully created the connection. I have already accepted the agreement. So it is a one-time agreement which I've already accepted. So it didn't show me. However, it might appear in front of your screen to go through the agreement, read and accept. So once you have done this, you would see the status of the connector is connected. If there are no other network or any other problem related to access, you should be able to see the status as connected. Now, once the status is connected, let's say I would like to build some automation on OneDrive. Let us build a very simple automation. Let us go to our UiPath Studio. In my UiPath Studio, the very first requirement is to install the right package for that particular application. So which application are we dealing with? We are dealing with Microsoft OneDrive. So let's click on Manage Packages. Go to Official. And here simply type Microsoft. Wait for a few minutes and then you should find an activity called Microsoft 365. In the future, the name might be slightly changed here and there, but this is the package Microsoft 365 that you need to install it. So once you install, what you get, A set of activities for integrating with Excel, Outlook, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Planner from Microsoft Office 365. You see all these activities under this one package. So ensure you first install this particular package. So I have already installed it. Install and hit on save. It will take some time to install it completely. To verify if your activity package has installed completely or not, click on Projects tab and look here. Now if you see a blue symbol like this, that means this package is fully installed. Now after this package is installed, let me also show you the version currently I'm using, 2.5.7. In the future you might be using a different one. So this is the package which is installed. After that, go to your activities. Here in the activities, you would find something called integrations. Click on integrations. And there you would find something called Microsoft. Click on Microsoft. And below that you find something called Office 365. Click on this. And then you would find something called files. Here we'll be dealing with OneDrive related activities. You can see all the OneDrive related activities has appeared on my UiPath Studio after installing that package. So that package installation is mandatory. One more important point to remember. You have to also see on your UiPath Studio if the right folder is selected or not. Now you remember you have created your integration on a given folder, which is IT department and projects folder. And here your connection is established. Ensure on your studio the same folder you have selected, IT department. So if you don't see the proper names here, for example, here the project name is IT department projects. Let's say you are not able to see them here, then all you need to do, click on this button and refresh. It will take some time to refresh everything. After that, you should be able to see all the folder structure here. Let me select the folder IT department projects. This is also one of the mandatory requirements. After you have selected the right folder and the connection is established already in the integration service with the status connected, then you can start utilizing the activities. So here for an example to how it works, we will use an activity, for example, create folder. Okay. Now once you create, it will take some time. It is making the connection and you can see here it will say IT department projects, under that Microsoft OneDrive SharePoint connection. And then it is also capable to show you your folders. For example, if I click on parent folder and if you click on OneDrive, it is capable of showing all the different folders. Now here we will simply cancel this for the moment because our main job is to create a folder. Let us give some name. So I'm giving it a name called test 123. This is the folder it is going to create. It is going to create in the OneDrive location. If a folder already exists, don't replace or auto rename. So those options also you can select. Now look at how easy it has become. I don't have to create activities to log in to OneDrive, enter username and password. Nothing I have to do. I have already established my connection on the integration service. And all I have to do in the UiPath Studio, select the right folder, install the required packages and start dragging and dropping those activities and start using them. That is the efficiency that you will get after utilizing integration service. That is the benefit. You will really short out your development time. You will really save a lot of development time by utilizing integration service. That is the benefit. Now let's see how it works. I'm going to simply hit on run and I'm trying to create a folder called test123. Let me go back to my OneDrive and here you can see there is no folder is currently available with the name test123. There's no such folders available. Let me go back to the studio and simply run this particular activity. Okay, so you can see the execution is complete. Let's go back to OneDrive and refresh this. And you can see a folder got created called test123. Like that, you have many activities to experiment, lot of activities to utilize for your project. I have just given a sample example. With this example, it is very clear after you have made the connection how easy it becomes to develop a project for OneDrive or for similar applications. Okay, now let's move on to a different concept. The concept is available on the integration service called triggers. Right? Now, what is this trigger and how to utilize the trigger? Now, for that, simply go to the folder to start with. And in the connections tab, you would see the connector for Microsoft OneDrive. After that, you can click on three dots and click on manage triggers, or else you can simply go to triggers and click on add trigger. Any of the options would work. Now because in the connection tab for this folder, you might be having multiple different connections. So for Microsoft OneDrive, the best way is to click on these three dots and then click on manage triggers. So it will bring this page. After that, let us click on add trigger. Okay, so add trigger, if you do, it will automatically select the connector name, and then it will automatically select the connection type for the OneDrive SharePoint. And here you have the option to select different event types. Now you want an automation to be triggered. Trigger means what? You want to start an automation. If a file is created on my OneDrive, if a file is moved to trash, that time you want to start an automation. A file is updated, somebody has updated a file, that time you would like to start an automation. So based on your different requirement, you can choose the option. To keep it simple, I'm going to go with the file created option. Okay, now here it is saying drive. Click on this and it is going to show OneDrive shared with me SharePoint groups, and I'm going to select OneDrive here and click on save. Done. Now here it is going to ask me, okay, when a file is getting created on OneDrive, which process would you like to start, or which automation would you like to start? So here you click on this, it is going to show you different automations. So here it is showing you have automation called good morning, you have automation called test automation, some of the automation that you have already created, the processes. So what I will do, I will select this process called good morning, that is there in my different folder, but it is shareable. So I'm using one of the process that should start. Okay, good morning in shared folder, that process should automatically start. When it should start? When a file is getting created. Simple. So we'll test that. Runtime license. Now you select your runtime license. I have an unattended license, so I will select that. And then there are certain data filters and couple of other things are available. For the moment, we will keep it simple. We are not choosing any such things here. Simply selecting the process and selecting the license and hitting on add trigger. Okay, give it few seconds and the trigger will get created. So this is the trigger page. Now in this page, it gives you a clear indication, which is the process which is going to start when a file is getting created. And then it is also going to give you an attempt of history, how many times this trigger has worked. Now one more important point is the polling time. So by default, it is going to check every 5 minutes. By default is going to check every 5 minutes, and I want to change that polling time. Now here, if you see, if you click this, you may not find the polling time information. So what you do, go back to the folder. Okay, go to the triggers and click on this trigger. Okay, I do not see it here. Let me go back again. View trigger. I'm not seeing it here. Let me go to integration service. Triggers. Let me click on the connection. Yeah, so click on the connection. Yeah, so to change the trigger time, go to the connection, click on this connection, and here you find checking for events every 5 minutes. So what I can do, it will check for that file created event every 5 minutes. So I want to reduce it. For example, I want to change it to custom, and I'm going to select 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay, only minutes and hours you have. And here I've selected 1, and I'm going to click on update and check. So what is happening now? Now the trigger is set. The trigger is set to check every 1 minute. If a file is getting created, then this should start. Okay, if the file is getting created, it is going to check every 1 minute. So let's do one thing. Let's go to OneDrive and let me create a file, add new, and let me create an Excel workbook. Okay, so book one, and let me type something and let me close it. So what happened? A book one file got created. So now every 1 minute in the integration service, it is checking to see if there is any kind of trigger has been, is some file is getting created in the OneDrive or not. So the trigger is continuously checking this particular trigger. Okay, now let me click on this. Okay, you can see what happened. The automation got executed. You see that this message box is coming. That is part of that automation where it should show a good morning Rakesh. So you can see in the view job log under the trigger name, if you scroll down, there is something called attempt history, and you can see that's run successfully. Good morning Rakesh, click on OK. So ensure if your automation is not automatically starting, so there is a possibility that your orchestrator, your UiPath assistant is not connected properly, or you have not made the proper setup, or you are not able to start the job from the orchestrator. So if these kind of problems are there, then you may not be able to see the automation running. Okay, let us test one more time. For example, let me create one more file. Let me create a Word document. I'll say test 1, 2, 3, and document 1 got created. See, the moment something getting created, the automation is getting executed automatically. And now to check the history of how many times this automation ran, you can see the automation ran 2 times. Getting it? So the process is getting automatically started. One more thing you can also do, you have understood the process. When you are starting a process, for this one I have selected the process which was running in the shared folder. You can create a process for the same folder itself. How you do it? Go to orchestrator, go to the folder, click on processes, and here you can add a process and select that good morning process for this particular one. Next, I'll leave all blank. Create. Now what happened? This good morning process is now created in this particular shared folder. Now let's go back to the integration service, and I would make a slight change to the trigger. I'll go to IT department folder. I'll click on trigger, refresh this, and there's a trigger, and let us modify this. View trigger. Okay, and here there is no option currently available for me to modify this. Shared / good morning. Can I type something here? No, it is not automatically coming. So for that, what we will do, we will delete this trigger. Getting it? Very simple options. Some of the options might be enhanced in the future, but for the moment, let me use this. Trigger and select OneDrive SharePoint connector. So the connection is already made, and here the event is file created, and I'll select as OneDrive, save, select the automation, good morning IT department projects, runtime license, I will select as production, and I'm done. Hit on add trigger. Okay, now the trigger is got created. Now to change the time, what I have told you, how do you change the polling time? The time interval on which it should continue to check if the file is getting created or not. So here to change the polling time, click on, go to connection and click on this, and here you can change the polling time. So it is set to 1 minute for the moment. Okay, let's go to OneDrive and let's create one more file here. I'll create one more Word document. So the file will get automatically created, and a document 2 is already named. Type something, close it, leave. So now what happened? Document 2 got created, and also the automation got executed. Okay, the automation got executed. Now let me go back and check the trigger. Click on this, view trigger, and you'll be able to see the automation history, job history. Here guys, so thank you for watching. I hope you have got all the understanding around how do you set up a connection for Microsoft OneDrive, and also you have learned the basics around how do you authenticate, and then how do you create a trigger, how do you use the activities by installing the required package for this particular connector. And we have done a bit of demo on how do you run the trigger, how do you run a automation built on UiPath Studio. So if this video is helpful and you are able to do it on your own, if this video has added something to your knowledge bank, ensure you are liking this content and sharing with your friends. Thank you guys for watching. Let's move on to our next topic.